everybody, and welcome back to the Sales Copywriting and Content Marketing Hacks podcast. I'm your host, Jim Edwards, along with my trusty co-host, Mr. Stu Smith. Welcome, Stu.
Thank you, Jim.
We are in episode 164. I don't know what the hell rhymes with that. So we're just episode 164. And today we're going to be talking about actually a pretty important topic that most people don't really think all that much about. And that is going live or using recorded video content. Which is better and why? So I think this is going to actually be a pretty interesting little conversation. So Stu,
yes,
talk to us about what we want to talk about today.
Well, if you were here for the prior show called the Jim and Stu Show, which we record live prior to the podcast that we are recording now, that we are doing live now, you will have heard us talk about all the different social media platforms. One of the things about social media platforms is you can do live events on social media platforms. And with other platforms like StreamYard right now, how many live platforms are you hitting right now, Jim, using StreamYard?
We are live in 1, 2, 3. We're live on my profile, on my page, in my group, in another group, on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, and also on my website. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different places we're live right now.
So that is a lot of birds with one stone.
Yeah.
You are taken care of right now. So I would say, in your model of business, my model of business, StreamYard is very important to be able to get these live videos out to your social media platforms and save a lot of time. Doing all these individually you would only be able to do one of them, and then you'd have to share recorded ones with all the others.
Right.
That's a big waste of time too. So why do you think it is so important to go live?
Well, I think the number one reason, so there's a few reasons to go live. Shall I go to the board, Stu?
Sure.
I don't think I can't even think anymore without this damn thing fired up. So, number one, there's a deadline. Okay, so if you say, okay, Tuesday, we're going live at 10 o'clock, and then you tell people, especially if you send out an email to your list and say, okay, we're going live Tuesday at 10 o'clock, and this is what we're going to be talking about. And so if you want to get this result, and this result, show up. So then people say, yeah, I want to get that result. I want to show up. So they show up. Guess what happens? You better show up too.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how that works.
That's true.
And that's called the old social pressure. I can't spell pressure, but this is episode 164. That means 164 times we have gotten together and done a podcast. Oh, watch this. I figured this out, Stu. I got this program too. I figured this out earlier this week. Dig this, man. Ready? Come on in, kids. Let me give you a close-up of what we're doing here. All right. So this is how I can make the stuff really. That's cool, right? Look, Mom. No hands, Mom.
Got the floor tap.
That's right.
That's like whenever you used to hit the bright lights in your car, with the floor.
Yep, left foot.
Hit the high beams, beams up there.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I like it.
And then when you really feel, okay, fine, don't turn your high beams down. Stamp on that thing to give them a screw you, buddy. That one, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So, what the hell was I even saying? So the first one is just showing up. Okay, you got to show up. And so we never would have created 164 episodes without a time. And even with the time, it would have been like, dude, I got to go swimming, or I got to, something else came up, or, it's one of those things that unless there's a deadline, unless there's some social pressure and a commitment to other people, it's not going to get done. That's probably the biggest reason.
Yeah. It forces discipline.
Right. Hey, that's good. Discipline. All right. Kind of like if you want to work out and you've got people that you respect that are expecting you to be there and you're going to show up more likely than it's a lot harder. It requires a lot more discipline to work out by yourself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Just saying.
I agree 100%.
So the second reason why you want to go live is feedback and / interaction. So that allows you to actually interact with people. So like I see that we got Vicky's here, Kevin's here, Ford's here. I got other people here who haven't said anything, but you know, we got a bunch of people that are here live. So we can ask questions like, hey, got any questions? And then we can wait and see if anybody has any questions. We can ask people what they think. We can just get feedback and have interaction, which is part of the draw for people to actually show up. Because if they know they can show up and ask you a question live, then that's a pretty significant thing depending on the topic.
That's a good draw.
That's why you do your YouTubes. I mean, you get a lot of people. Favor's here. See, you can say, hey, Favor. Sometimes just saying hi to somebody, you know, people like, hey, so-and-so, like, oh my God, they said hi. Which is cool.
Yeah.
But you can get feedback. I've gotten testimonials that way. You know, just say, hey, you know, would you guys mind giving me a testimonial for my book? Hold up your book. People like, yeah, I love your book. It's amazing. So that's why you want to go live. In my opinion, the two big reasons. What would be other reasons why you'd want to go live?
Yeah, for me, it's the feedback and interaction, but I also get I get good questions to create new content with as well.
Right. Well, I think that's part of the feedback and interaction. But yes, absolutely. You know, questions. You know, gathering questions, intel. You know, real time intel.
Yeah.
Type stuff. All right.
Plus, let's talk about get it done is a great one too. But is there something in the algorithm that makes live versus recorded different?
Okay, now that's an interesting question, and it depends on the platform you're on. It used to, I'm pointing to the notes from the last show. It's like, hey, I had Facebook written up here before. Don't have it there now, but you know, Facebook was there.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about Facebook, it used to be a big deal. Like if you went live on Facebook, they were letting everybody and their sister know. And so you get a bunch of people to show up. Now, since they got everybody to start going live and creating this content, they don't shove it out the way they used to. They're not, you know, it's not like the carnival barker all the time. I do think that there is still an advantage to going live. There's not a disadvantage to going live as far as the algorithm is concerned, as far as I know, but I don't know if it's a huge advantage anymore. Not like it was a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago, man, you put on your phone, go live, everybody and their brothers get so-and-so's live, and you know, and then you'd have a whole bunch of people come in, they'd realize you suck and it was really boring, and then they leave, you know, to go. It's like these lemmings saying, let's go. Oh, that's live. That kind of sucks. That's live. That kind of sucks. I guess live video sucks. No. So, but it is what it is. But I think the biggest thing though is, and this is where we talk about pre-recorded video versus live video. The problem with, if you look at, if you've made any kind of video over time, okay, first time you do it, pretty much it's good enough. The fifth time you do it, like if you want to practice and practice and practice and practice and practice, yeah, the fifth time's probably good enough. Sixth time, good enough. 10th time, good enough. And then about the 10th time, you're like, well, crap, now you get overloaded and just, it's kind of like, then you end up not doing anything. Or you'll do it once and be like, okay, let me edit this. So you'll spend 30 minutes editing a 2-minute video.
Yeah.
As opposed to you could just reshoot the 2-minute video 3 times in 6 minutes, pick the best one and get on with your life. But what I have found is that even that reshooting it, if you pretty much just make notes and know what you want to say and you bust out the video, it's done. You can move on with life. Especially when we're talking about content videos. Now, things like webinars and stuff like that, should you do pre-recorded webinars? Or what's up, Sonny? I'm glad you're here. What's up, Sarah? So I think when it comes to just making content, just get it done. Get it done however you can get it done. Just get it done and get it out there. If you're following a good framework, if you're using content marketing scripts, using Jim Edwards Method Premium, you're using funnel scripts, traffic scripts, whatever you're using, you're going to be getting you're going to get the results. The other thing though is that if you're doing like a webinar or something, and I've done it both ways, and I've done webinars. The vast majority of webinars I've ever done have just been live. I can tell you, I can count on one hand the number of webinars that I've ever done that were pre-recorded and were played as if they were live. And the problem with those is that pre-recording them and playing them as if they're live, something breaks, you're screwed. In other words, if the automatic player thingy doesn't work, you're screwed, because everybody knows that, okay, well, it's not live. Number two, you will start to obsess over every minute detail. It's, I should have said this, or I should have said that, or I should have said that. And what, is like a 60 to 90 minute delivery on the webinar turns into 2, 3, 4 days of pure torture and hell on yourself over obsessing over everything, as opposed to just busting it out and getting it done. Now, if it's an evergreen webinar or something where you're doing a whole bunch of testing, that's a different story. But I had this conversation with somebody yesterday where I said, you're almost better off practicing the webinar through 3, 4, 5 times and picking the best one, or just doing it 3, 4, 5 times and then just, 3, 4, 5 times practice and then go delivering it live. So, that's something that you need to keep in mind, because it's funny how you'll get some people say only go live or only do the pre-recorded stuff. And it's like the Crips and the Bloods, East Coast, West Coast type thing of just real violent. My whole thing is, the reason I suggest just always doing it live is because you can get feedback and interaction from the audience during your webinar, so they can ask, well, oh, that's a great question. Let me get that at the end. Or that's a great question. Let me answer that right now. And that person whose question you answer might be the one that buys. And if you're answering 10 questions, that might be the 10 people that buy. Makes a difference between having a 10% conversion rate and a 15 or 20% conversion rate. Or the one person that asked, that was everybody's question. If they hadn't asked, you never would have thought about it. So, in the end, with webinars and stuff, I would suggest really doing them live. Just because when it's done, it's done. That's the thing. The more complicated, the more complicated you make it, the more it's just a pain in the ass.
Well, I'll tell you this, the title of this podcast is Going Live or Recorded Video Content, What is Better? And I'm going to say this, you can read that a couple of different ways. What is better for reaching more people, or what is better for you?
Right.
And for me, every time I do recorded videos, I always wind up doing it 3 or 4 times. I have to add edits. It's, I'm not happy with it. But if I go live, like right now, I just boom, go right through it. Yeah. And I don't know why that is, but it just is.
I think I'll tell you why. I'm reading this book now. Oh, by the way, this is my entire webinar that I'm doing in a few minutes. I've got a whole new philosophy.
Nice.
But I got this book. I heard about it on this thing called a Shortcast. Come on. See, my little thing's not. What are we doing here?
Not going full screen.
There you go. Yeah, you just stomp harder. So this book called The Inner Game of Tennis. The guy talks about, and it's not about tennis, but tennis is a metaphor. And though he was a tennis teacher back in the 70s. But there's two parts to us. One is, it calls it the I, and then the other part is myself. So I is the person that's always lecturing, like, hey, we need to do this. We need to do this. You're doing that right. You're doing that wrong. It's the judge, the thing that's always judging everything. And then the myself part is the thing that does stuff. It's your subconscious. It's the thing that does things. And the more that you can suspend judgment, the more that you can get rid of that criticism and other stuff, and just trust that you are going to do the right things, say the right things, and that you got this. It's like if somebody looks at you and like no matter what anybody would ever want to do or ask you or want you to teach, or any group that would want you to get in front of them to explain Navy SEAL-y stuff like what you said, the only words I would say would be, I'd say 3 words to you every single time. You got this. You got this. You got this. There's nothing they could do, nothing they could say that you couldn't handle. Nothing. There's nothing. And yet, and if you give yourself permission to just flow through all that stuff, you're doing great. But it's when you do it once and you're like, okay, yeah, I did that. That was great. It was a great talk. But then you're like, okay, now I got to do that again. And the I takes over and says, well, you said this, or I'm scared you're going to forget. And you said that one thing. You got to make sure you don't forget that one thing. And then the second time you do it, it absolutely sucks because there's no flow. No, it's true. Think about it. It's like, oh, I don't want to forget I said that thing. Like I had this line that I wanted to use in a webinar, that I want to use in a webinar. It's what they see is who you are. And it's talking about content and what people see up there, and years of experience doing don't matter, stuff like that. So scared that I'm not going to say that at exactly the right spot. Yet my subconscious, myself, said that at exactly the right spot, exactly at the right time. So that's why prepping up, having a list of notes, knowing what you want to say, and then trusting yourself to say it to the best of your ability and give people what they need when they need it. That's all you need. And the more you overanalyze it and the more you get yourself, you never get into the flow. So that's why usually that first video, like if I tried to recreate this exact conversation, I couldn't do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yep.
That doesn't mean I couldn't have a similar conversation. I couldn't talk about similar stuff. But what I would need to do, and the other key thing, I'm teaching this guy's book, right? The other key thing is that the I, the judge, thinks in words, but the myself, the thing that does, the well of the subconscious, thinks only in pictures. Only in pictures, only in images and feelings. That's it. So that's where you run into issues and stuff. It's a really great book, and it's short too. It's like 134 pages. So I mean, I'll be done with it. I'm halfway through. Yeah, I think teaching half-ass with this thing because I only read half the book, but I'm already an expert on the front. No, so anyway, great book. Point is, that's why, because it's like you trust yourself for it to come out the right way when you do it live. As long as you know the topic and you have some level of preparation, and then trust that you're going to say the right things.
Yeah, some reason I'm a little more relaxed going in live than I am when I have to get it recorded.
Yeah.
Or I have a little bit more adrenaline that allows me to be on my A game when I'm going live. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it could be a combination of both. You
flip that switch internally, it's go time. When the thing says live, it's go time. Time to go. Time to get started. Time to make it happen. There's no more screwing around. No more thinking. I'm just gonna get in there and make it happen. It's like with a workout, man. What's the shittiest push-up? First one. What's the crappiest mile? First mile. Once you get in and you get going and you get your rhythm, then everything's working.
Nice.
Everything's going. It's the same thing with this stuff. It's like, how do you get started? Start.
I like that.
And if it sucks that bad, then act like something happened, accidentally hit the button to stop the recording, and send out an email that apologizes for the technical problems. So
Yeah.
so there you go. So Vicky asked, how does, and I guess this is from earlier, but we'll cover this. How does Medium fit in with social media? Medium is like a blog that anybody can put stuff on. I know that they have comments and other stuff like that. So it's kind of like social media and a blog had a baby. I mean, we post my stuff on Medium all the time, but I don't consider it social media. I just consider it a place to distribute content. And this is kind of a question for you. What do you think of YouTube Premiere, Stu? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either. I haven't upgraded to YouTube Premiere. I think YouTube
Okay.
Premiere is that without commercials, maybe? Like if you're on a Premiere, you can get all the YouTube stuff without commercials, or hell, you know what? I don't know. I'm gonna have to answer that
Yeah.
in another show.
So Bo asked, so for beginners, is pre-recorded webinar or are pre-recorded webinars better? I would say no, because you might record the thing once and then spend all your time trying to edit it, as opposed to practicing it a few times and then going live and delivering. And there's just you just do things differently when you know there are people listening. You feel different when you know other people are when it's go time and there are other people that are listening. And Favor said something interesting. The idea that I get to edit can make for poor preparation.
Yes.
That's interesting. I never thought about that before, but
Good point.
That's actually a really good point. It might make you lazy. And I've seen that as well.
Hey, about YouTube Premiere, did they change it to YouTube Creators? Is that the same thing? Because I think the YouTube Creators is like you basically have your own YouTube page that is all centered around your branding.
I don't know. Susan just looked it up.
Yeah.
This is what she put in here. Premiere lets you and your viewers watch and experience a new video together in real time. Create buzz for your Premiere by sharing the watch page so viewers can set reminders, chat, and leave comments. Create a Premiere viewers can watch the Premiere on any platform, computer, iPhone, anything. So it just sounds like another way to share stuff, like at one time where people, it almost sounds like creating watch parties for your stuff. I don't know if that's what it is, but that's kind of what it sounds like. So
yeah, unfortunately, all of these things, when you keep up with 7 or 8 social media platforms, there's always going to be an advancement that you're a month or 2 behind.
Right.
So, you have to really stay with the flow of the technology, and
Right.
that is something that requires some work as well. So I will say that I am not up to date on the YouTube Premiere yet.
All right. Well, Favor said YouTube Premiere is the same as streaming a recorded video in real time as though it's live.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I've seen that.
So if you've got a following on, if YouTube owns your list, then that's how you could do it. Me personally, I'd do everything I could to get everybody on my own list, and then I'll have the Premiere on my own website on my own time and have a captive audience and use social media to drive traffic to my spot. So that's my thinking on that. Okay, well, that's it for the podcast today. That was pretty good stuff. The bottom line is, if in doubt, go live. That's the bottom line. I would tell you there's a lot more advantages to going live, if at all possible, than just using pre-recorded. But you also want to leverage the recordings of your live well into the future. So Stu, if everybody wants to get in great physical shape, where should they go?
Stu Smith Fitness.
That's right. And if you want to create amazing sales copy, head on over to copywritingsecrets.com and get a free copy of my book. That's it for us today, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks podcast. By the way, if you're not a member of our group on Facebook, you should be. Head on over to Facebook and do a search for Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks group, and we'll let you in as long as you're cool. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.